Hello everybody, it's Robin and welcome to my channel. Today on the Robin's Nest we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Now myself, like many of you I'm sure, have been watching the events unfold currently on our world stage. Staring in shock, absolute horror, and complete sadness for the people of Ukraine. And like many of you, I too wish to do my part to help. So today's video is actually part of a larger fundraiser called Creators with Ukraine. From now until the end of March, you will find a donation button either down below or to the side of this video, one or the other, where you will find a safe and reliable place if you too wish to do your part to help the people of Ukraine. And I challenge my fellow YouTube content creators to do the same as well. If you have the means and you meet the criteria, every dollar counts, and every dollar is actually evenly divided amongst highly vetted charities which are already currently supporting Ukraine. So with love, honor, and glory to Ukraine, Slava Ukraini, let's make some cake.
So for today's cake, we're going to be using two 6-inch as well as two 8-inch vanilla cake layers, which I've dyed one of each blue and one of each yellow. So when we cut the cake open later on, we will see the flag of Ukraine. Now, I didn't want my cake to be quite that large, but I didn't have smaller pans, so I'm just using a paper template to cut my cakes down to the size and shape that I need, which is roughly 5 and 7 inches. And now to fill these layers, we are going to color match some buttercream. So I'm using AmeriColor Royal Blue for my blue, and we're going to use a good size squirt in approximately 1.5 to 2 cups of American buttercream. And this is my easy buttercream recipe, and I'll leave a link in the description below for anybody who is interested in trying that out later on. And now for our yellow, we're going to be using Wilton's Lemon Yellow, and we're going to use a generous scoop into a fair amount of buttercream. I would say this is probably a full batch of my easy American buttercream, because we have a lot of flowers to make and we want to make sure we have enough to go all the way around the bottom of the cake. So now that we have our buttercream colors mixed, we are going to fill the layers of our cake. So I'm starting with my top tier first, and since we're going to be coloring the outside of this one blue, we're going to fill our center layer with blue buttercream. And now we're just going to use our small offset spatula to apply a nice generous coat all over the entire cake, sealing in all these crumbs before smoothing it out. And this part doesn't have to be perfect, it can be done fairly roughly, because we're going to pop this in the fridge and firm it up in preparation for a smoother final coat of icing. Alright, and now it's on to our bottom tier. So for this one, we're going to be using our yellow to frost and fill our layers of cake, because we're going to be covering this one with some bright, beautiful sunflowers, just like the ones that grow so abundantly in Ukraine. And now we're just going to pop that pretty sky blue layer on top before giving our cake a nice even crumb coat with our yellow buttercream. And we're not going to be adding a second layer of this. Our sunflowers will be stuck directly to our crumb coat, so you're going to want to make sure it's fairly smooth and clean up those edges a little bit. Now we're just going to pop that into the fridge with our top tier, and we're going to let those firm up really well, and in the meantime we're going to work on our decorations. So as far as fondant decorations go, there isn't much to make. I wanted to keep this very simple and elegant, so we're going to make a golden Ukrainian national emblem for the front of the top tier of our cake, as well as a phrase made with thick blue lettering, which we are going to allow to dry and then stand up on our cake board in front of our cake, and this phrase translates to "Glory to Ukraine." So when cutting thick fondant like this, it can be a bit tricky and sticky, so I do recommend giving it quite a bit of time to dry before attempting to cut it at all. This is going to help prevent stretching of the fondant while you're cutting, and is really going to help the fondant letters keep their shape. So while we're waiting for our fondant to dry a bit, we are going to complete the final layer of icing on the top tier of our cake. So I'm just using my small offset spatula to spread a nice thick even coat over the entire surface of our cake, and then I'm going to come in with my bench scraper, and we are going to get this nice and smooth and hopefully take away all these little imperfections and bubbles, leaving us with a perfectly smooth cake. Now we're going to pop this into the fridge to firm it up for when it's time to stack our tier. So some time has now passed and our fondant is firmed up nicely, so it's time to cut out our decorations. So I'm using a small tipped craft knife, or X-Acto knife if you will, and I'm very carefully cutting out the national emblem for Ukraine. And as you guys can see, I find it a little bit easier to start with the little center pieces that need to be cut out first, so that way you prevent any stretching in your fondant while you're cutting. Now we're just going to stack this onto a piece of parchment before giving it a little dust with some gold dust to make it shine for our cake. And you guys can use whatever technique you like for this, but as you guys can see, I much prefer the dry dust effect. Now this is a little bit messier and does kick up a little bit of sparkle in the air, but I find it gives a nice, soft, natural looking shine, as opposed to when you paint it on wet and it leaves brush strokes and you have to do multiple coats. So I like this. Doesn't it look pretty? Alright, now we're just going to set that off to the side while we work on some beautiful sunflowers for our cake. So I'm just going to attach a piece of parchment to my flower nail using some buttercream. Then we're going to pipe a little anchor at the center, and using a number 352 piping tip and a piping bag, we're going to pipe little petals all the way around that little center portion of buttercream until we're happy with the size and the shape. So once the yellow is completed, we're then going to grab our brown piping bag, which we've prepared with a number 2 round piping tip, and we're just going to pipe little dollops in a circular motion until we're happy with the size of our stamen. And we are going to need quite a lot of these, so you're going to keep making them in various sizes and shapes until you think you have enough to cover the entire surface area of the bottom tier of your cake. Then we're going to pop these into the freezer to firm up while we stack our cake. So this cake isn't going anywhere, so we won't be needing any supports today, but now that it's completely firmed up, I'm very carefully transporting it into its top tier position using my cake lifter and a small offset spatula to get it into place. And once we're happy with its position, then we can start sticking all of our sunflowers onto the cake. I'm not really using any particular pattern, I'm just sort of sticking them on where I think they'll look good, using a small dab of buttercream and then using my small offset spatula to help stick them into place. Now you may find these getting soft as you're working on them, so you may want to rotate some in your freezer just to make sure you don't mess them up while you're putting them on the cake. I actually had 2 cookie sheets full, which I would rotate in the freezer until I completely covered the cake. And there is a little tip I feel like I should mention. Be sure to save your smallest sunflowers for that edge around the top of the cake. I actually didn't save enough, and I had to use some larger ones around the back side, as you can see, and they were a little bit more bulky. So it is more of an aesthetic preference, really. It's not absolutely mandatory. If that doesn't bother you, you don't have to worry about it. But I thought it was worth mentioning because, as I said, it can look kind of bulky. But I think that looks pretty great so far. I'm just going to grab my piping bag and very quickly go all the way around, filling in any holes where we may still see some cake. And voila! There you have it, guys. Isn't it beautiful? We just need to add our national slogan and emblem for Ukraine. And that is it for this cake. Well, that is it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and please, if you can, don't forget to donate. I know my one single video isn't going to garner a whole lot of money or attention, but if we can all come together as a group of creators and viewers and spread the word and share our videos, then we can give everybody the opportunity to help the people of Ukraine. And hopefully one day very soon we can say this war is over, and this money can go towards helping the people grow and prosper and rebuild Ukraine to its beautiful state once again. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, spread that word, create your own content, or donate if you can. Every action and every dollar counts. So I'll thank you once again, and I'll see you on the next one. Slava Ukraini. Glory to Ukraine.